Okay, I wanted to make us a short video to get us prepared for tomorrow's test. So this review is going to have everything you need to know in order to do well on tomorrow's test. And it's basically going to cover topic 7. In this test, you should be able to do all the things that you see on the screen here, both multiply and divide decimals by 10, 100, 1000. You should be able to multiply 2 and 3-digit decimals together and know where to put the decimal point. And the thing we've been working on most recently is we should be able to divide decimals by whole numbers and divide decimals by decimals. So what I've done is I've created some problems that we're going to walk through. What I would suggest you do is maybe pause the video when I put a problem up, pause it, try it yourself, and then put it back on and see if you did it right. You will have 3 things to do on your notes page, 3 problems. So don't do the problems throughout this review on your notes page. Save that for the end. Okay, the first problem that I have for us to look at says Miss Brown bought 5 posters for $26.20. How much did one poster cost? We know $26.20 is all I spent, and we know I bought 5 different things. So I know my equation is going to be 2620 divided by 5. Remember, when we divide a decimal by a whole number, the first thing you do is bring that baby up. Okay, 5 goes into 26 5 times. 5 times 5 is 25. Subtract, bring down. 5 goes into 12 2 times. 2 times 5 is 10. Subtract, bring down. 5 goes into 24 times. Whoops, my pen's acting up. 4 times 5 is 20. So now we know the answer to this is I spent $5.24 on each poster. Okay? Next problem. It's just simply multiplying and dividing decimals by powers of 10. What I want you to remember is when you multiply, your number's getting bigger. So because there are 3 zeros in 1000, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. My decimal goes here at the end, but I have to have a 0 in that empty wave. So now my new answer, you just copy 35990 and add your comma. So the answer to 35 and 99 hundredths times 1000 is 35,990. Dividing, we're making a number smaller, so we're going to the left with our decimal point. There's 1 0 in 10, which means we're going back one place. Make that big obnoxious decimal so that you see it. 12.7599. So that number would be read 12 and 7,599 10,000ths. Remember, tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths. Okay, so that's real quick how to multiply and divide by 10, 100, and 1000. All right, this is just a simple division problem that you're going to have to set up. What is 793 and 6/10 divided by 32? First step in dividing a decimal by a whole number is bring that baby up. Now you're ready to divide normally. 32 doesn't go into 7, but it goes into 79 twice. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6. Let's subtract and bring down. Oops. 32 into 153. Let's try 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. Subtract. Becomes a 4. That's 13 minus 8 is 5. 4 minus 2 is 2. I know I'm still good because my remainder here is less than my divisor. And let's bring down here. 32 into 256, 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 3 is 24, plus 1 more is 25. So 793 and 6/10 divided by 32 is 24 and 8/10. Notice it came out even, so we didn't have to add any zeros. It was perfectly fine just the way it was. All right, here is a decimal by a decimal. So let's copy it down first. What is 136.5? 136.5 divided by 4.2. Now remember, in order to divide, this has to be a whole number. Your divisor has to be a whole number. So we have to move the decimal one place to make it a whole number in the divisor, which means we have to do the same thing in the dividend. Please don't try to work this problem like this. I need you to rewrite the problem. So our new problem is now whole number 42 into 1,365. So really we're now just dividing whole numbers. 42 doesn't go into 1. 42 doesn't go into 13. 42 goes into 136. Let's try 3 times. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 4 is 12. Subtract. Bring down. 42 into 105. Let's see. That would be 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. Subtract. Now, remember this problem started out as a decimal problem. So when we move the decimal, technically we should have put a decimal there. We cannot have a remainder when we have a decimal division problem. So let's add a 0 here and let's bring it down. 42 into 210, 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 1 more is 21. Okay, so I probably should have shown you that before we worked this problem. When you're moving your decimals in a decimal division problem, if you move it all the way over to a whole number in the dividend, go ahead and stick that decimal at the end of your whole number just in case you have to add zeros like we had to here. We don't want to put a remainder when we are dividing decimals. Okay, let's look at this word problem. Ms. Kaufman bought 100 erasers. They each cost 6 cents. How much did she spend? Okay, if I bought erasers at this much money and I bought this many of them, I'm obviously going to multiply that times that. So my problem is 6 cents times 100. We're multiplying. I have to pay for all of them, so the number's going to get bigger. There's 2 zeros in 100. Which means I move to the right two times. So the answer to that would be 6, which we're dealing with money, so hopefully you realize that would be $6. Your decimal points at the end, $6. Okay? Ms. Huff went out to dinner 3 times this week. She spent $6.89 each time. What is the best estimate of what she spent on dinner this week? Well, we know she went 3 times. So we're going to multiply that by the best estimate. So let's round the $6.89. She spent about $7 each time. So the best estimate of what she spent on food this week is $21. Okay, so we rounded to the nearest whole number when you're rounding a decimal. Now, this is a simple multiplication problem. What I need you to remember is you multiply as you always do. But then at the end, you're going to have to count the numbers past your decimal and make that be the same in your answer. So let's just work it out. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 6 is 24. Carry your 2. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 is 10. Okay, let's clear that out. Bring down your placeholder. Remember, we're doing that because now we're moving over to the tens column. Actually, this is the ones column because this number is 3.4, but nevertheless, this column is not being used anymore. So we're moving over to 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 2 is 6 and 1 more is 7. Okay, add it like you always do. 8 plus 0 is 8. 6 plus 4 is 10. 8 plus 0 plus 1 is 9. 7 plus 1 is 8. Now, go back and count. Remember, we ignore the decimals in multiplication until we're done. Now I'm going to see that there are 1, 2, 3 numbers past the decimal in this entire problem. That means I have to have 3 numbers past the decimal in the answer. So 2 and 62 hundredths times 3 and 4 tenths is 8 and 908 thousandths. Okay, just got to remember how to place those decimals after you have multiplied normally. All right, Miss Metcalf bought 8 textbooks that cost $42.95 each. How much did she spend? Again, we're buying something, and we're buying a quantity of them, so we know we're going to multiply. So $42.95 times 8. 8 times, forget your decimal, 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 9 is 72, plus 4 is 76. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 7 is 23. 8 times 4 is 32, plus 2 is 34. Now let's go back and count. There are 2 numbers after the decimal in the whole problem, so I need 2 numbers after the decimal in the answer. And remember, this was money. $42.95 times 8 is $343.60. Okay, I know this was quick, but I feel like we're ready for this. What I'd like you to do now is go ahead and pause the video and work each of these problems in each part. So part 1, what is 406 and 2/10 divided by 30? Your paper is going to look like this. 406.2. Do not forget, here's your first step. Part 2, what is 42.4 times 5.6? Forget the decimals, multiply as usual, come back and count the decimals and put them in their answer. Then we have what is 281.4 divided by 1.2. Make sure you move your decimal in both places, in your divisor and your dividend, and rewrite your problem before you work it. All right, work hard on these 3 problems. If there are any problems you did not understand how to do, please go back and watch them again and come in tomorrow ready for your test. Have a good rest of your evening.